Today we're going to talk about how to get your spouse to stop snoring. There's nothing worse for your quality of sleep than having your spouse snore all night long. So let's start with the actual cause of snoring. Now, there's a lot of things you can do to cope with this problem if it's sleep apnea, like the CPAP machine, which is a device which hooks on your head and it will give you forced air so you can breathe. The problem is it dries out your mouth. It's uncomfortable to have this thing over your head. And there's also certain devices that you can put in your mouth to cause the jaw to go forward to create more of an opening so you can breathe. But sooner or later, you want to get to the root cause. But first, let's talk about what is snoring. Snoring is a loss of tone in the structures in the back of the throat that cause a vibrational sound. And this could be coming from the fact that your neck is just too large. You have too much fat in your neck, and that's obstructing the air. And this obstruction is called obstructive sleep apnea. It can also come from the abdomen. Let's say, for example, you have visceral fat, you have a large belly, and all that extra fat is putting pressure up into your diaphragm, especially when you're lying down. Having constant pressure in your diaphragm is going to limit the amount of oxygen that you have in your lung. And there's a big correlation between people who snore and they're overweight. But on the other hand, we have something functional. In other words, your nervous system controls the tone of the structures in the back of the throat. And I'm talking about the autonomic nervous system. If there's a problem with certain cranial nerves, and these are nerves that come out of the brainstem, specifically the 9th cranial nerve, which is the glossopharyngeal, and the 10th cranial nerve, which is the vagus, that can also create a loss of tone in the back part of the throat, creating this vibration. And then there's another nerve called the phrenic nerve, which comes from underneath the diaphragm that goes up into the neck. And the phrenic nerve controls the diaphragm and the amount of air that your lungs can actually get. So if there's a problem with the nervous system, it can create a huge effect, not just on snoring, but the amount of air that actually comes in your body through the lungs working correctly and also from the airways being open or closed. So we have the visceral fat that can affect that, we have the fat in the neck, and then we have the actual nervous system that affects the structure. These nerves are highly influenced by vitamin B1, that's called thiamine. If a person is deficient in thiamine, they can have a massive problem with the autonomic nervous system, with the cranial nerves, and the phrenic nerve. Now, the other big factor that it can affect these nerves in a negative way is being a diabetic or a pre-diabetic, or even having insulin resistance. Because with those conditions, you develop peripheral neuropathy, which affects the feet and the hands, and also nerve dysfunction in general, which is called neuropathy. And what's even more interesting is that diabetics are usually always deficient in B1. B1 is very protective against the complications of diabetes. So we have the complications of having blood sugar problems themselves affecting the nervous system, and we have vitamin B1 deficiency, which is created by a high-carb diet, and not to mention insulin resistance, which is behind obesity. One of the things that you're told when you go to the doctor, if you have sleep apnea or snoring, is you need to lose weight. And that's absolutely true, because if you have less fat in your neck, less fat in your abdomen, you're gonna breathe better. But there's more than just losing weight. Some people that lose weight still snore. Some people that are thin snore. So what do we do? Number one is get thiamine in your body, vitamin B1. Vitamin B1 helps the autonomic nervous system that will actually help the tone in the back of the throat. Vitamin B1 also helps the breathing centers in your brain stem. Vitamin B1 also helps the phrenic nerve that affects the diaphragm. And vitamin B1 also helps the cranial nerves, specifically number 9 and 10. So this is probably one of the most important things to do immediately. Realize that a high carbohydrate diet causes a vitamin B1 deficiency. So you're going to have to change your diet, and that's why we do something called healthy keto. For those of you that are new to my channel, I put a link below of exactly how to do this. Okay, and you also want to do intermittent fasting with it, because these two in combination can greatly help reverse insulin resistance, which is a big part of this problem, and also the weight that's accumulating in your neck and in your abdomen. The other very important thing to do is take vitamin D3. Why? Because vitamin D3 in amounts of 20,000 IU will greatly assist in getting the deeper delta wave sleep. What happens if you're snoring and you have sleep apnea is you're basically waking yourself up through the night. Some people wake up 30 times an hour because the soft tissues in the back of the throat obstruct breathing and they stop breathing, and then the nervous system kicks in and wakes them up 30 times an hour. So they're going to be tired through the day. They're not going to get enough oxygen to the brain. It's going to affect the heart. There's a lot of problems. Well, guess what? Vitamin D3 helps the deep parts of the brain that regulate the circadian rhythm with sleep. It also helps the autonomic nervous system, specifically the sympathetic nervous system. So this can help in many different ways. This can also explain why some people sleep better after a day in the sun, because they get more vitamin D. So the combination of B1 through nutritional yeast, vitamin D3, now realize you can get this from the sun, but you have to be out in the sun a certain amount of time. I'll put some links down below of how much time. Or you can take this as a supplement, but it's very difficult to get it just from food. So you might just want to take it from a supplement. And then don't forget healthy keto and intermittent fasting. All right, so your next step is to go ahead and try these and let me know how it works. Hey, if you're liking this content, please subscribe now, and I will actually keep you updated on future videos.